There is a cold case in North Carolina making national headlines because for the first time in more than 20 years, there's been a major development that has everyone talking. A search warrant has been served on a person of interest. And who this person is or what they do for a living, it is someone no one saw coming. Hi, Crime Junkies. I'm Briana Whitney, and this is a case that I think will continue to make headlines, so I am here to bring you all the details you need to know about the 2004 homicide of 16-year-old Josh Davis. It's January 2004 in Garner, North Carolina, just a few days after New Year's. 16-year-old Josh Davis is hanging out with his 13-year-old sister Alyssa and his friend Michael at Michael's place. Now that day, the teens were doing typical teen things. Josh and Michael are practicing the lyrics to the latest popular rap song, but they were getting ready to move their practice over to Josh's house, which was just a short walk away. Now, by the way, in case you were wondering what the #1 rap song was at the time, I looked it up. It was Hey Ya by Outkast. We're not sure what song they were practicing, but just a little bit of context of the times there. Alyssa was not going to join them. She was planning to go shopping with a friend. So Alyssa's in the car. She actually passes Josh and Michael on the side of the road. And when she waves bye to them, she has no idea that's the last time she'd ever see her brother alive. Alyssa wasn't gone long before her dad sends her a Nextel phone message. She seriously thought it was a joke at first, but what he said wasn't funny, that Josh had been hit by a car and they were going to the hospital. Truly, she didn't believe him at first, so she finished up her shopping, checked out, and she started to head home. But as the car she was in was turning into the neighborhood and down their street, Alyssa sees this sea of police lights. Streets are blocked off and there's an ambulance. And that's when she realized her dad wasn't lying. Something did happen to her brother. The moment Alyssa gets inside her home is a total blur. She doesn't quite remember who was there or what was said, but she does remember the call she got from her Nana very vividly because it was the worst kind of call. Josh had died. And it wasn't just grief that was hitting at first, but a million questions. I mean, Alyssa had just seen Josh walking down the street, and he was with Michael. So what happened in that time frame? And where was Michael during all of this? Josh's family figured they'd sit down with him and try to learn anything more at all. Maybe he saw or heard something. And Michael is at least able to answer a few questions. He tells Josh's family that shortly after they left the house, he'd realized they forgot that rap CD they were listening to. So he told Josh, hang tight real quick, I'll be right back. He ran to the house to go get it. He was only gone for a few minutes, but when he got back, he found Josh lying right near where he left him, alone on the side of Hall Boulevard, bleeding. Michael said he didn't see anyone around or hear any cars speeding off, and the speed limit right there was 25 miles per hour, so it was very slow. The timing just seemed almost unbelievable. But Alyssa said when pressure tested by their family, Michael's story seemed completely true. And when I spoke with Alyssa, she said that in the aftermath of all of this, Michael did everything right. He talked to their dad about it all. He was very forthcoming with them. He even cooperated with police. They genuinely don't believe Michael was involved in this at all, and that he genuinely went back to go get that CD. With Michael unable to shed any light on what happened to Josh, Alyssa and her family were just hoping someone would come forward with answers. She told me she remembered this giant billboard going up, $10,000 reward for anyone who knew anything about Josh's hit-and-run accident. Except they were about to find out it may not have been an accident at all. The first time they got to lay eyes on Josh wasn't until his funeral. And Alyssa remembers something specific as she looked down into this open casket at her brother. She had this thought, he looks exactly like himself. Like nothing was wrong, except there was a small amount of makeup that was on the side of his face. It was covering up a mark. Where were all the injuries from being hit by a car? It just all seemed really weird. And this is when the first questions began to creep in. Did they have the full story? And was it even a hit and run at all? Their confusion becomes even more validated when they get back Josh's autopsy report. His family says it shows Josh died from a traumatic hit to the head, right near the temple. And when they asked law enforcement how this is possible, Alyssa says they were told Josh might have been leaning down and was possibly clipped by the side mirror. Okay, maybe, But as time went on, his family questioned whether any part of a car hit him at all. Could it be that someone or multiple someones in a car hit Josh with something instead? If that's the case, this isn't really a hit and run, certainly no accident. That would make this a planned killing. In the early days of the investigation, that dark thought wasn't even fully comprehensible to Josh's family. Like, who would possibly want to hurt him? He was a good kid, he was fun, social, outgoing, had tons of friends. They weren't aware of any enemies. But Alyssa told me that as the days, the weeks, and the months went on, their family started to get these weird calls and hear ominous rumors that suggested there may have been another side to her brother she didn't ever see at home. Alyssa was in 8th grade at the time Josh was killed, and while she took some time away from the classroom right after her brother's death, eventually she did have to go back to school. She told me when she got back, a girl came up to her on campus and said something that shook her. "Your brother got what he deserved." She didn't know what that meant, but here's the thing about Garner, North Carolina. Alyssa told me it's small, an everyone knows everyone type of town, which in turn we know means everyone knows everything. Even to this day, she said there's only one high school. They're finally getting some new sidewalks, hoping to maybe eventually get a Trader Joe's. So the point being here, in this small town, people began to talk. And if you were there, you were getting wind of what people were saying, which, according to Alyssa, was this. Rumor was Josh had recently gone to the movies before his death and gotten in a fight, one his family never knew anything about before this. And it made Alyssa wonder, what else did she not know? This turned into more than just kids gossiping at school, by the way. People were actually calling Josh's family at home and making threats. Alyssa had to remove herself from the situation, mostly staying at her friend's house in the years after Josh died. But her little sister Lauren did not have that luxury. Lauren was only 2 years old when Josh was killed. So as she grew up, Lauren told me she remembers watching her mom walk around the house with a pipe wrench, terrified because people would call and say, "You're next," or "We know who did it." Now, it is possible that those were just cruel teen jokes, but to Josh's family, they absolutely believed more was at play. And this went on for years. Even though every tip and rumor was passed on to police, it just seemed like the actual investigation was getting nowhere. Josh's case cycled through detective after detective, and the biggest update the public would get was the occasional social media post by the police department, asking anybody with information to contact them. And that was it. Until now. Just this year, after more than 20 years without answers, Josh's family got a call out of the blue from the Garner PD. They wanted to give them a heads up that they would be serving a search warrant related to Josh's case. And more than the fact that this was happening, they wanted to prepare the family for who the warrant was being served on. This news of the search warrant came to the family in March 2026 from the family's new case detective, Michael Hammerstein. So he was the one to also tell them who they were serving this on. Megan Potter, a police officer in the nearby town of Fort Oaks. The fact that this woman was a police officer was shocking in and of itself. But question number one for the family was, who is Megan Potter? Josh's family had never heard her name before. She wasn't one of his friends as far as they knew, and her name hadn't come up in any of the rumors they had heard. Come to find out, she's also 4 years older than Josh was, so it seems totally unlikely that they would have had the same social circles. But desperate for answers, Josh's family went digging for any connection they could find. Did her name come up anywhere? And it did, in one place. There in the guest book from Josh's funeral is Megan Potter's name. She was there. This detail was odd, and now especially it felt like it meant something, they just didn't know what. But they didn't know what Garner PD did. And 2025 was not the first time Megan's name had come on their radar. Because as it turns out, according to the search warrant, a tip about her possible involvement in Josh's homicide came in all the way back in 2010. Here's what we know. That tip came from Megan Potter's ex-husband, but we don't know exactly what he said, just that he implicated her in some way. Now, what they did with that back in 2010 is unclear. There is no mention of action taken back then in the search warrant, and when we reached out to GPD for comment, they said they can't comment on an ongoing investigation. But we know that after Detective Hammerstein was assigned the case, he and his team decided to look into it. Even 15 years later, when they talked to the ex-husband, guess what? His story hadn't changed. Police note in the warrant that his version of things was the exact same now as it was when he called back in 2010. But guess whose story had changed? Megan's. You see, the search warrant revealed something interesting. Megan's name actually didn't first come up in 2010. She was on police radar in some way all the way back in 2004, the same year Josh died. We only know this because they make note that her statement to police in 2025 was different than her statement in 2004. Now, I don't have a ton of details about what either of those statements were. Actually, we know almost nothing right now about her 2004 statement. But the warrant did reveal some interesting tidbits about what she told police just recently. They called up Megan Potter in September of 2025. And during that interview, Megan tells detectives off the bat she knew her ex-husband had implicated her in the homicide. Kind of a weird thing to say off the bat, but they go on questioning her, and they ask her if she could come in and do an interview in person. And she's like, no. And not just like, no, not right this second, it's about time. Detectives note that Megan becomes uncooperative with attempts to talk to her again. She eventually tells them she will only do an interview at her own police department in Fort Oaks, which is not how that works. Police now describe her as a suspect in the homicide, according to the search warrant, and suspects don't get to decide when and where they are interviewed. When they tell her as much, her response is, I'll think about it and I'll call you back. But she didn't. In fact, she stopped responding to all of their attempts to reach her. Texts, messages, she ghosted them. So detectives start thinking outside the box, and they get this idea and run an audit on her CJ Leads account. Now, I'd never heard of CJ Leads before. Turns out it's a police database that includes info on people, like addresses, criminal records, other contact info. It is strictly to be used for law enforcement purposes only, like for cases you are working only. But lo and behold, the audit on Megan Potter's CJ Leads account shows she tried to run her ex-husband through it right after detectives tried to contact her for follow-up this year. Investigators wrote in the warrant that there was no law enforcement reason for her to do that. But honestly, thank God she did that, because that's what gave them enough info for the search warrant to search her home and all the electronics that could reveal more. They served that search warrant on March 31st and seized an iPhone and a Dell laptop as potential evidence. What they found on that phone and laptop, we don't know yet. Now, I want to be clear. As of now, Megan Potter has not been charged with any crime in the case. Based on what's in the search warrant, we don't know what role she may or may not have had in Josh's homicide, if any at all. The Fort Oaks Police Department told a local news station Megan Potter is on admin leave pending the outcome of this criminal investigation. I reached out to the department to ask them more about that. They didn't get back to me. I also called Megan Potter directly to ask her, but she didn't return my call either. What I can tell you is this. I did talk to Detective Hammerstein on the phone, and he says this investigation is absolutely active and ongoing. This is not a cold case anymore. Things are definitely happening behind the scenes. It's the happiest news Josh's sisters have had about their brother in so long. Alyssa only got 13 years with him, but she has many memories to reminisce and smile about. She was telling me about these carefree, sunny days on the trampoline, doing crazy tricks. You know, the kid stuff. And she was smiling, talking about it. But while Alyssa has many memories with Josh, Lauren has just one. Her brother sneaking her out of the window so they could sit outside and watch the cars go by together. Remember, she was just 2 years old, and that memory replays over and over in her mind. She recalls it so vividly. But that's it. That's all she can remember of Josh. Alyssa and Lauren believe in Detective Hammerstein and his team, that justice is close for their big brother, and that the truth is on the brink of coming out. If you have any tips about the homicide of Josh Davis, please call Garner Police Investigations at 919-772-8810 with attention to Detective Hammerstein, or you can email him directly. You can also email us here at Crime Junkie and AudioChuck at tips@audiochuck.com. Crime Junkies, we will keep you up to date on the investigation into the homicide of Josh Davis. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for additional updates on this and other cases our team is covering.